Very much for uploading everything. The last thing is uploading. I'll just call out your names, okay? Just so that I can figure out your names. I know for about half of you, but the rest of you I still don't know. And yesterday, Stuti was getting angry with me because I didn't remember her name. So I want to make sure that I know everyone's names. I know Ashish, Supriya, Swati Priya. Okay, thank you. Shukra is here. Kranti Kumar is here. Stuti is not here. See, this is what happens when you ask me Vivek Kumar. Alok Kumar is online, I think, maybe. Ranveer is here. Lakshman was here. Yeah, there he is. Vivek Prasad is there. Richa. Danish, Rajiv Ranjan. Was he here this morning? Rajiv Ranjan? He was there? Ajay is here. Jayesh is here. Saif? Ajay Kumar. Samad? Shishti? Shrikant, Samin, Shruti, Ravikesh Kumar, Ms. Rakesh, So I know many of the names, okay? By tomorrow I'll know. Okay. Some are not there. One person in particular asked me to know that I should remember her name and she's not here. And I memorized Stuti. That's why she was getting angry with me because I didn't know her name.
But she was here in the morning.
She was here in the morning. Okay, so we'll just get into this topic that is the assigned topic for today, which is water. And water is very important. Before I get into water, I just want to remind you of the Earth Overshoot Day once again, okay? Many of you added your footprint assignments, so I just wanted to remind you of the Earth Overshoot Day once again. Remember we talked about this last week, how the Earth Overshoot Day has changed so much. And this year, the Earth Overshoot Day, some people said it's in June, yeah, but still definitely it's in mid-July at least, right? After last year it was 2024, so every year it has been coming closer and closer to Jan 1st, and that's really scary, right? So think about that, and I hope many of you you've identified certain steps that you take to reduce your footprint, so please reduce your footprint, okay? And these are some countries. US is everyone, Earth Overshoot Day for US is March 13th. For New Zealand, which is supposed to be a very sustainable country, it's April 30th. So as we discussed that day last week, it's because of people in Indonesia, Nicaragua, Ghana that we are still surviving, right? And the problem is they're all trying to be like people in New Zealand or United States. And if they succeed, then they will be in trouble, the planet will be in trouble, right? So India is not on this, right? We looked for India that day, we didn't find India. Sorry? 1st August for India, right? It was in 1st August for India. So for the world it is about 15th of July or something. So India is also not in great shape, better than New Zealand, better than US. But India is also trying to be like US in terms of its urban development pattern. If India succeeds, India is in trouble and the world is in trouble. Okay, so let's go to water. This is the topic for today. Water is needed for drinking. We need it for survival, right? People can live without food for 50, 60, 75 days, people can survive without food. But without water, people cannot survive for more than 7 to 8 days. It's needed for industrial operations and for manufacturing of goods, for manufacturing of clothes, for our data centers. Data centers require a lot of water, And about 22% of the total consumption of water is for industrial processes. And then the majority of the water is used for agriculture. 68%, almost two-thirds of the water is used for agriculture. And a small proportion of the water is used for domestic uses such as cooking, cleaning, bathing, and sanitation. Many places in the world are experiencing a lot of water stress, and water stress is going to increase significantly by 2050. India, as you know, is already experiencing a lot of water stress and has experienced for a very long time. Probably the largest population, a country with the largest population that has water stress. China, as you know, as you can see in the map, does not have too much of water stress. Indonesia, which is right here, does not have too much of water stress. Whereas US does not have too much of water stress. But you can see that India has a lot of water stress and has had for a long time. In spite of the fact that there are many rivers here, because of the population and because a lot of the water is actually flowing into the oceans from the rivers, there is a lot of water stress, and it's going to get much worse by 2050 unless everyone collectively, national, state, local governments and individuals do something about it. This water stress is creating a lot of problems. Often it is an availability problem, that there's not enough water. Often it is an affordability problem, that the price of water is very expensive. And often it is a quality problem, that good quality water is not available. So this is creating a lot of distress for lots of people, and many people are dying every day. According to the World Health Organization and UNESCO, a minimum of 5,000 children are dying every day, okay, from because of bad quality water. The higher end estimate is that 10,000 children are dying every day. Many adults get sick, diarrhea and many other diseases, and when they get sick, they have obviously distress, but also it affects productivity. They're not able to work, they're not able to earn, teachers get sick, they are not able to teach, and it affects their quality of life. Now, I want to spend some time on this number. 5,000 children are dying per day, all over the world. Many of the children are dying in India. Okay. What is the world doing about this? 5,000 children dying every day. Okay, I'll give you two examples. On September 11th, 2001, there was a big incident. Some terrorists attacked the US. 3,000 people died in one day. So many things in the world changed because of that. Okay? So many things in the world. In India, sometime in May, terrorists killed 22 people, 26 people, and so much happened in response. 26 people. 5,000 children are dying every day. The world is not doing anything. The US is not doing anything. India is not doing anything. Okay? And this is really, really sad that all these things are happening and no one is doing anything. Internationally, the world changed on 9/11. We had a major, almost a war 2 weeks ago, and nothing is happening. This is an example of something called slow violence. This is a coined phrase by a professor at Princeton University named Rob Nixon. And he says there are these acts of slow violence that are happening that are killing a lot of people, creating a lot of damage, but because it is happening very, very slowly, and it's not like dramatic. Like when 9/11 happened, so many planes went into buildings, people were jumping off buildings, a lot of headlines, building blew up. It changed the world. The terrorist attack, 26 people were killed, very dramatic, big news, changes lots of things. But here 5,000 kids are dying every day, no one is doing anything about it. Similarly, another kind of slow violence is gender violence. Lots of women are getting harassed, raped, killed every day. No one talks about it. It's much more than 26 people every day, but no one talks about it. This kind of slow violence, you and I as planners have to be concerned about it, because we are worried about quality of life, right? Not about how good our cities look. We should be worried about what is the quality of life of people living in our city. If the city looks good and people are dying of bad water, or people are dying because of gender violence, what's the point of having a beautiful city? Okay, so as planners, our goal is not to make our cities beautiful. Part of it is, as planners, our goal is to make our cities good places to live in, where people are safe, healthy, have economic opportunity. And to do that, if you make cities beautiful, yes, but we also have to make it possible for kids to live in the cities, for women to be safe in the cities. Okay? We should try to fight against this slow violence. And so, let me come back to water. But remember this thing, there is lots of slow violence happening, but it's not making the headlines. Okay? It's much more important for the US government or the World Bank to focus on the 5,000 kids that are dying every day. It's probably much more important for the Indian government to focus on the 5,000 kids dying every day. Okay? Anyway, so it's a quantity crisis. In some places there's not enough water. Like in the Sahara, in Northern Africa, West Asia, there's not enough quantity of Western India. There's not enough quantity of water. Second, there is not enough, sometimes it's a quality crisis. It's not good enough to drink. And often it's an affordability problem. In many cities, low-income people. Okay, let me put it the other way. Many of you, some of you live with your parents, right? Still? Yeah. How often do your parents discuss how much money they spend on water every month? Okay.
We pay a water tax annually, but they are talking about installing water meters in each household. The project is still underway. They have not started it.
So in Patna, generally people who are connected to municipal water, they pay per month something.
Per annum.
Per annum something.
This tax is paid for that.
Yeah, and is it an amount that is significant enough that people discuss that water taxes? So in most places in India, where the people who get water are the upper middle, and the upper income groups, right? And the amount they pay for water is so small, people are generally never discussing about the price of water. The price of onions goes up, people discuss it. Price of something else goes up, people discuss it. But the price of water is so low, people don't discuss it, because it's such a small proportion of people's incomes. But in many cities in India, lower income people and the very, very low income people, they are spending a significant amount of money every day for water, because they don't have access to municipal water or clean drinking water. So they have to buy from tankers or from private parties. And many years ago, when I was doing a water supply project in Manipur, I saw that low-income people were spending about 10 to 15% of their monthly sum, 20% of their monthly income on water, getting clean water. Whereas middle-income and upper-income people, water is such a small portion of the income, it doesn't matter at all. So there is that affordability problem, and there is that social justice and equity issue around access to water. Poor people should not be spending 15 or 20% of their income on water. Okay, so what are the sources of water for drinking water? Surface water. About 50% of the surface water that is drinkable, that is available to the human race, is in one country, in Canada. Canada has 50% of that. But other countries also have, but groundwater can be easily contaminated. Surface water can be easily contaminated. Groundwater is the main source of tap water for most parts of the world. And groundwater availability is affected by precipitation, location of streams and other surface bodies. It depends on the transpiration rate, extraction rate also. Groundwater is available in many areas, right? It's available. But as our cities grow, sometimes extraction of groundwater is faster than the groundwater reservoirs can be replenished. And this becomes a very big problem in coastal areas. In coastal areas, there's lots of sea, right? Often these coastal areas have a water table. And in cities, when they extract water from the water table and the extraction is faster than the groundwater can recharge, you know what happens? In the ground, under the ground, a vacuum is created. Groundwater has been taken out and it's not getting replenished. What happens when a vacuum is created? Something else comes in. Here in coastal areas, what comes in? Salt water. Salt seawater comes in and contaminates local underground sources. And once seawater comes in into freshwater sources, then that fresh water cannot be easily used. It's got salt in it, and desalination is very expensive. So in coastal areas, as the cities expand, they really have to focus on restricting the supply of groundwater extraction, restricting groundwater extraction so you don't have problem of saltwater intrusion. Rainwater harvesting is a very good way of doing it, and rainwater quality is very good unless there's lots of air pollution. If there's lots of air pollution, then these pollutants get mixed with the rainwater and then you'll have to try to take it out. But if you don't have air pollution, if you don't have the dust in the air, then rainwater is very pure and can usually be consumed without any purification if there are no problems in the atmosphere. If there's lots of sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxide or dust in the atmosphere, then all of them combine with the rainwater and they become acid. So one of the common problems in cities that have a lot of air pollution is that sulfur dioxide gets into the water when it rains, and much of the rainwater is acidic, made acidic because of sulfuric acid, and that's not something that you should be consuming, right? So rainwater can become very impure. Reclaimed water is using water that has gone through, human beings have used. And there are many systems, ways of doing it. We can take, for example, water that we have used in our kitchens and bathrooms and toilets, and it can be reclaimed and used for gardening or for cleaning, not necessarily for drinking. One of the best examples, technically perfect examples of reclaiming water is in the city of Singapore. One water. Yeah, it's one water. Yeah. So what they do is Singapore is surrounded by sea on all sides. They have very little freshwater resources. So they have very large rainwater harvesting areas where they've created large tanks where they harvest rainwater, but that takes care of a very small portion of their total need. So what they do is, once water is used for drinking, once it's purified and used for drinking once, it never leaves the drinking water system. I'll give you an example. So water comes into the house, some of it is used for drinking, some of it is used for washing, some of it is used for toilet. Even the water from the toilet is taken, it goes through sedimentation, goes through a lot of purification. It goes through, water from the toilet goes through an RO process, and then the toilet water is put back into the drinking water system. Okay? And they've been doing this since 2010 or so. That is, even the toilet water is clean, fully clean, and put back into the drinking water system. And after they clean the toilet water, the water is so pure, it's only the water that comes out of that purification system has only two molecules, hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, it's got nothing else in it, so it's colorless, odorless, and tasteless. So before they put it into the drinking water, they pollute it. They put salts and minerals in it to give it some taste and color and odor, so people will accept it. Otherwise, it is 100% pure, nothing else in it. no biological, no viruses, nothing. But it's a very, very energy intensive process. The RO systems are like for a colony of 50,000 or so. The RO plant, the RO filters are as big as this room. Huge, and it's very, very energy intensive. Desalinated water, to remove the salt from the water, it's also a very, very energy intensive process. And when you take out the salt from the water, then you have concentrated salt solution called brine. Some brine can be used for industrial processes, but not for all industrial processes because salt is very corrosive. So you can use it only for certain industrial processes. So when you extract, when you have a desal plant and you take the salt out, one of the big issues is what to do with the salt that you extract. Okay, and so generally the desal plants are next to the ocean, right? That's where you're taking the water from. So they take this water from one place, clean it up, and then take out all the salt water, the brine, and put it back in the ocean. So wherever the brine is put back in the ocean, there are huge negative impacts on the local water, flora, and fauna. Like many plants, water plants die. Many animals die when you put it back. So it's very, very has a very negative impact on the environment. Then some countries that have money, they have tried a couple of times, like Saudi Arabia is water scarce, and in 2010 or 2015, they went to the Antarctic and they took an iceberg and they dragged it to Saudi Arabia. And so they can afford to do that, but it will be very expensive, and most of the iceberg will melt by the time you get there, but you still have some icebergs. So if you don't have any water, that's one thing that they just tried once or twice. Okay, they wanted to see whether it could work and how much it would cost. Okay, 27% of urban developers, urban dwellers in developing countries do not have access to pipe water. Okay, I don't know how the number is in India. What's the number in Patna? Does anyone know what percentage of the population has access to pipe water at home? Must be very middle class might have pipe water, right? Many low income people might not have. Now in some parts of the world, like if you go to, let's say, Kenya, or if you go to Rwanda, and if you, before the internet age, now internet, everyone has information, okay? But before the internet age, before smartphones, if you went to Rwanda, if you went to Kenya, to a village in Rwanda or Kenya where they don't have water, okay? And you tell them that you've come from US or UK, and you tell them, I'm going to tell you two stories. And you tell us which of those stories is real, which of those stories, or if any of those stories is true. And the one story, like if someone going from the US could share these two stories. Story number one, I'm from the US, my country puts, let's say, imagine I'm telling this to villagers in Kenya. I'm from the US, in my country in the 1960s, we put a few men into a metal tube and we shot them into space, and they went to this thing called the moon. They landed there, they picked a few rocks, and they came back. Story number one. Story number two. In the US, everyone gets up in the morning, walks 5 or 6 meters maximum within their house, maybe 10 feet within their house. They turn a tap. They get water throughout the day, good quality water, very low price. Do you believe either of those stories? They will say we believe the first, but not the second. Okay? They believe that the US is a very advanced country, they can probably put someone up there. But they cannot believe that even with all the technology, you can have the second situation. Where you can just go, turn the tap, you get drinking water, very low cost, very, very good quality, 24/7. And as you know, in many, many villages and urban areas in India, women's lives, people's lives revolve around water. So many women get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go to a place, pick up water and come back. So many children get up so early in the morning, collect water and come back. And there are people in many African countries, okay? Just 3 weeks ago, I was talking to one of my students, he's from Ghana. And I told him, I asked him, how do you get water? He said, I'm from a rural area in Ghana. When I go home to my parents' house, every morning I get up at 5 o'clock. And then I go with 2 buckets. I walk 3 kilometers to a private person's house who's got a tube well. And there I go, and he charges something for the water, and then I walk 3 kilometers back with those 2 buckets of water. Okay? So it's happening in many, many parts of the world. It happens in places where there's not enough water. Now, Ghana, by the way, is a tropical place where there's lots of rainfall, and yet there is an access to water problem. I found similar things in Manipur, where lots of people, I have some pictures, maybe I'll show you someday. This is 30 years ago when I did this research. Long line of pots and pans in a public standpoint in the city. This is a place where there's lots and lots of rainfall. Okay? So many people's lives even today are guided by access to water. And in many, many cities, I know people in Delhi, in certain neighborhoods, water comes for 1 hour or 2 hours in the morning. People have to get up at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning, turn on the taps, throw it in the houses. If they don't do that, they won't get water for that day. Okay, so water is a big thing, but many countries have 24/7 access to it. Like in the US, good quality water, and in many countries, regardless of how high the income in the countries is, Ghana is a moderately high income country. The income is per capita income is higher than India, and yet there are people walking 3 kilometers per day to get water. So water is a big thing. We as planners should be, yeah, I think so.
So you bring the water from your tap?
Yes,
in your
yeah,
home?
yeah.
When we were living, that people were very skeptical to bring the water directly from the tap in the US itself.
Yeah, that in many, many communities, especially in southern US like Arizona and all those, Arizona and New Mexico, bottled water companies have been scaring people and telling them that your tap water is not good, so that people will buy bottled water. Especially where there are a lot of low-income people, states that have lots of low-income people. So in my area, everyone, no one actually, everyone drinks tap water. Without, no boiling, nothing, it's clear, good water. But there are impurities, okay. So in my area, the water has lots of nitrates. Nitrates are not very good. When nitrates, because there's lots of agriculture, they put lots of pesticides that contaminates groundwater sources. So it's not toxic. It won't give you diarrhea or dysentery. But if a pregnant woman takes lots of that water, babies are born with a syndrome called blue baby syndrome. Okay? But generally, unless you're pregnant, the water is okay and it's very, very cheap. Now in other states, many other states, my state is agricultural, so there's lots of fertilizer. Many other states, there's not so much fertilizer. Water is very, very good. You can just drink it straight from the tap. Yeah, you can take it anywhere. If there's any public place there is a tap, you can drink it, it's safe. Anyone's house you go, you can drink the water, it's safe. Yeah. If you solve the water problem, yeah, someone said, you were saying, right, 70%. You solve the water problem, you say you solve 70% of the sustainability problem. And here's the, as I said, often the poor pay much more for clean water. A slum dweller in Nairobi pays 5 to 7 times for a liter of water than an average person in North America. Okay? Per liter. And this is ignoring the currency conversion. Kenya is the local shilling, Kenyan shilling is not as strong as the US dollar. So if you convert that, they're really paying so much more. than what a person in the US is paying. So the global population lives in areas that go to bad governance and bad infrastructure. The global population lives in areas of water, and just the distance that people have to walk in developing countries to access good quality water, child mortality by diarrhea by 40%, and attendance of girls by around 10 or 11. Okay, because if there's not enough water, if there are not enough, this has been well documented. After say primary school or so, if the toilets for girls are not there and they're not clean, especially when they hit puberty, they don't. And any country, developing country, to increase girl child literacy, the biggest things that they can do is to put a toilet in the school. That's clean water. It has been shown to